good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to this session. This is a session called Scrumban Not Explained Experience Instead, the story behind the Scrumban simulation. Normally, this is the title of a typical active workshop that we do with the Scrumban simulation game, of which the boxes are behind me. But due to the pandemic and also due to the distances, I don't have an online version yet. So we will do the story behind the Scrumban simulation instead, and Sangeeta will do some demonstration also. All right.
Would it be a good idea to have a quick energizer?
Yes. Okay. For all the participants, even if you're having lunch at this moment, Alexandra, doesn't worry. Switch on your microphones. We're going to do a little energizer. Everyone switch on your microphone. And then at the count of 3, we're going to clap hands. Clap once if you're feeling okay-ish. Clap twice if you're feeling good. Clap 3 times if you're doing great. All right, I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3. Clap, clap, clap.
I think I clapped faster.
Most of you. Normally you should hear the the sound fade out, but all right. Again, people joining. Good. So what is it about? Smile, you're on camera. One important message: this session is being recorded for the moment. So if you are not able to hear everything or attend the entire session, have to leave earlier or whatever, jump in later. You can view the recording later on, or you can share it with your peers later on, so that they can enjoy this session as well. So that's the recording. And definitely welcome Agile World, of course, because this session is part of the Agile 20 Reflect Festival, which is a great opportunity to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Agile Manifesto, and to share experiences about Agile, share stories all across the world, and join sessions of different people from different continents. And that's just so great, because I don't know who of you had joined the opening ceremony. The opening ceremony was last Sunday, 2 days ago, 2 evenings ago, and you get a view here of all. I made a screenshot of the map of all the sessions that are planned this month. All Agilists across the globe doing, sharing their knowledge, sharing their passion about Agile, telling their stories and whatsoever. This is just amazing what's going on here. So this is just a great opportunity to do this. If you want to share your thoughts about this session, your experiences, or have a question or whatever, you can share your thoughts on Twitter. There's the general Twitter handle, myagile20reflect, from the festival. You can have a specific one for this session, Scrumban Sim. You can mention me, for instance, if you want to address me in personal. You can contact us on LinkedIn. So there's our both names, mine and Sangeeta's. Yeah, share your thoughts on whatever channel you chose. And then who we are. Sangeeta, I give the word to you to present yourself first.
Great, thanks, Kon. Hello, everyone. This is Sangeeta Sridhar. I myself started the Scrumban journey with Kon 4 or 5 years back. We were colleagues at a banking institution here in Belgium. And we started with some sticky notes, and over the period, we really refined, and we literally followed Agile principles by seeking feedback, refining the product, again, going back to the customer, seeking feedback and refining. And yes, we are here today to present our success stories with you, how an idea can be really transformed into a successful product. So looking forward to have more learning discussions with you guys today.
All right. So my name is Koen Wasmans. I'm still working at the same bank in Belgium, but more than a year ago, there was more into this. So I started my secondary occupation, and where I'm focusing on gamification in an Agile and DevOps context. So this made it possible to really fix this, make this a real product, this Scrumban Simulation. And also I continue developing new games, new serious games, like we will show at the end as a teaser as well. Setting the scene, why we made this simulation. Context is about where I started this journey with the Scrumban simulation was in infrastructure teams. I don't know if anyone of you has experience with people from infrastructure teams, people dealing with cables and boxes, networks, servers, operating systems, infrastructure software, and so on. I had to bring them some Agile principles and knowledge. And then the question is, how do you avoid that these people run away even before you can pronounce the word Agile? Because coaching these people on Agile level is quite a challenge, and I will explain why. Now, a little disclaimer. The next few things will be a bit exaggerated, just to make it more tangible. How we had to, at least how I had to deal with these infrastructure people. The infrastructure people, if you're talking about Agile, well, you can't deliver a computer in pieces. So if you talk, immediately they think about doing things in sprints. You can't deliver a computer in pieces. That's the first remark you typically hear. Or we're not developers, it doesn't work here. Or they're technical people. What about the tools? If you come in with a bunch of sticky notes and markers, then they were like, yeah, we need tools because we're used to working with tools. Challenges they face is, yeah, they're kind of perfectionists. A server that works 80%, well, it's not that you can say it's a good working server. So they're perfectionists. They only want to deliver when something is fully done. That's something else. Then, and that's the biggest challenge that we faced, is that they have a hard time finding the right balance between planned and unplanned work. So unplanned work is for them like dopamine. What is their unplanned work? Typically, they have their daily service requests, they have support questions, and they have problem solving these incidents that come in. And if they have to choose between working on something that's planned and it has to be delivered in, say, 2-3 months, or solving a problem right away, then most of the times, just because of the good feeling of it, they will choose for solving the problem now instead of working on the planned work. And another point of attention is that doing meetings and workshops, I just mentioned already, like you come into a meeting room with a bunch of sticky notes and markers. Doing these meetings and these workshops to start with is a challenge. If they don't see any immediate add value for them, then it's a waste of time. So they really make you notice that for them this is a waste of time. And trainings without immediate added value is the same for them. For them, a successful training is typically something they can really apply immediately with their technical background. Something they will do hands-on, that's something of value, but doing training about Agile, that's a challenge. So that's a story about infrastructure teams. Maybe Sangeeta, you can tell something similar what you experienced in software maintenance teams.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Koen. Let me just come back to the main view. Yeah, in the real development team, you really plan to run sprint with some planned scope items, but in real life, you get to have so many unplanned things on your way, either some training schedules for your team members, or somebody falls sick, or there is some urgent request coming from the top management where you need to pick up. So one or other form of unplanned things is unavoidable in your development scope. How would we manage this? Just because somebody else is pushing something on our backlog, do we pick that up? Then it will impact your deliverables. So it's always a challenging thing for any project development team. How do we handle these unplanned, even though we are not handling maintenance, but still all these unplanned in terms of training or physical sickness or somebody's birthday celebration, you really lose your original capacity planned part of your sprint planning. So that's the reason also to think about Scrumban. Why not? Let's just try some balancing way so that the team can effectively manage where to put their focus.
So it's a trade-off between delivering value and solving bugs that occur. Also, in maintenance, then if teams would still work according to the real Scrum way of working, your sprint burn down chart will be more like a stop and go all the time, because they have to interrupt their creation work, their planned work for something unplanned in between. So that's something, some symptom as well. That
Can I ask a question? Or
Yes,
is you
sure.
want to save questions to the end?
No, go ahead.
I don't know if you have any stats on it, but I'd be interested to know if there's trends with the DevOps movement for the Agile method to shift more towards Scrumban from Scrum, because in a DevOps world, they're doing a lot more maintenance, technical debt, operational work.
I would say I would definitely be in favor of it, but don't know. I think that mainly the development teams still stick to a Scrum way of working, or they shift all the way to Kanban. Could also be the case. But the challenge of Kanban is something I will explain right away as well.
Or typically the way they manage their unplanned stuff is to reduce their available capacity. They simply say, okay, we would just focus only 60% of our capacity for the planned scope, because we have so many unplanned things on our way. So we would retain the remaining 40% as a buffer. So in reality, we have seen in the last 5 to 8 years, there is not many teams who are strictly following Scrum as such for their scope.
Thanks.
So is this simulation itself, is it only for IT people? Because I've been talking about infrastructure people, and Sangeeta mentioned about software maintenance teams. No, it's definitely not only for IT people, but it's for anyone who's struggling with finding the right balance between planned and unplanned work. Typically, you see this indeed in IT teams, but anyone can benefit from this simulation to learn how to deal with this. So what approach to choose? So in the context we were working, like in infrastructure teams, going the Scrum way for infrastructure was definitely a no. Going for Kanban, that was a real challenge. We had to experience if it worked and how good or how bad it worked. So we started like this. We definitely tried to work according to Kanban principles. So and the way we tried to teach these people was doing the Kanban pizza game. I don't know if any one of you is familiar with the Kanban pizza game. It's fun. They laugh a lot. Some people are very dedicated, very focused to get the best results out of it. And you typically see if there's a team lead joining, then they're really competitive and going for the highest value. But in the end, I doubt if they really pick something up that they will apply in their day-to-day job, because it's a fun thing to do, but the learning aspect is rather limited, I think, because they don't see the connect between the game they do and their day-to-day job. So this was not really what we needed. Something else is that doing Kanban properly is not easy. Just to show this is not a Kanban board. Not because you have a board with a number of columns on it with some sticky notes on it and a flag to mark something that's blocking you doesn't make this a Kanban board. There's definitely a lot of things missing. And then there's the bad Kanban practices that we have seen several times, is that, and that's the first thing you see in this board. This is not representing a workflow. This is just someone that didn't work well using Scrum principles, and then just said we drop the sprints and we say we use Kanban. The board doesn't represent your workflow. This is not the way your typical steps you go through to realize your value in the end. It doesn't contain WIP limits, so there's too much going on at the same time. No work in progress is limited there. People don't respect the pull principle. So once an activity is done, they just push it to the next one, and things pile up at a certain point that you see that that's typically your bottleneck there, and they don't deal with it. And then the board is created, maybe it does represent a workflow or a part of your workflow from a while ago, but there's no continuous improvement process behind it to make sure that you improve your way of working and also adapt your board to your new situation. And then finally, there's so much on the board that you can hardly see a distinction between what's really important and what's less important. So these were typically bad Kanban practices that we experienced on the go there. So why not apply Scrumban? Why should you apply Scrumban? Well, Scrumban has the advantage that you have the flow principle of Kanban, because that's your basic idea. And you add a focus of Scrum. So the iterations you have in Scrum will give you focus to work on the right things you need to tackle now. And doing this gives you the possibility to grow towards Kanban. This could be a step up towards Kanban. The flow is the hardest is your Kanban board, and you add up some things of Scrum. So what do? Your starting point is actually your Kanban board. It has your workflow. It represents the way you work. You have your pull principle and you have your limiting work in progress. That's the basic idea of Scrumban. Start with the board. Start how you work now and gradually improve. What do you add from Scrum? It's typically the iterations. So you have your focus points, your time boxes of 2 weeks to inspect and adapt. You have your Scrum roles, you have your product owner, you have your Scrum Master, you have your team, and you have your typical Scrum meetings. Now, Scrum meetings, they're there, but they're different in the sense that you will do, you can do better. There's sprint planning, but there's different approach to planning than to Scrum. I will come to that right away. You do a daily Scrum, but the focus is more on where the bottlenecks are. If you have to choose between planned and unplanned work, some incidents that can pop up, for instance. Your retrospective, you could go for a typical Scrum retrospective with your 3 questions. What did you do? What's going good? What's going bad? And what can we try to improve? But the main thing about the retrospective in Scrumban is also to have a look at your board and improve your way of working, improve your process. So the typical time boxes you have is your point to look at your board and see what you can improve. Now I mentioned something about the planning, which is different. This is how Scrumban really typically plans. You have what they call bucket size planning. You have a different horizon, or horizon on 1 year, which are your ideas you want to implement, you want to realize. Then from that part, you take a snapshot from the next 6 months. These are refinements of your ideas, and these are your goals. And then from these goals, you do a further requirement to the refinement better to your next 3 months, and these will be your requirements. And these requirements will flow into your Kanban board, your Scrumban board. And how will this flow? How will this happen? You could go with a sprint planning, but mainly you have another metric. If you know your WIP limits on your activities, you have a to-do limit on your backlog column in your Kanban board. The to-do limit has a lower and an upper limit. You don't push more to your work to your board than your upper limit. And once the number of items in that column reaches your certain lower limit, that should trigger that you need to start refining your backlog again, your bucket size planning to have new requirements flow into your board. That's the idea of the planning. And so far the theory about Scrumban. So what's the simulation about? The simulation, the objective is to find the right balance between planned work and unplanned work. So the elements of the game are like this. You have a board, and the board has two parts. The upper half of the board is your planned work. The lower half of the board is your unplanned work. So we have a backlog column, a to-do column, which is actually what you will be planning in your next iteration. Then you have the prepare column, which is like some analysis work. You have execution work. You have validation work, which could be something like testing, and you have your done. So we have a predefined structure, but in reality, if you will start applying Kanban or Scrumban, of course, you make your own structure based on your own process. You have your WIP limits, and then you have an indicator of your iteration and your day of iteration. Lower half is the fast lane for your unplanned work, which has a reported column, an accepted column, investigate, and then again, execute, validate, and done. So the similar structure between planned and unplanned work, slight differences. Fast lane only for your unplanned work. Then there are cards in the game. There are 3 types of cards. The first type of cards is the blue ones, is the backlog items. There's no kind of explanation about what kind of work you're doing here. It's just very generic. But in fact, you have all the information you need to be able to prioritize your backlog based on numbers, on metrics. You have a business value. You have a Moscow scoring. So must have, should have, could have, won't have. You have a number of prepare work estimation, execution estimation, and validate. Then there is space on the card to identify or write down when the item was planned, when the item was started, and when it was done, which will help you to calculate your cycle time and your lead time. Similarly to the backlog items, there's the unplanned work. You have a priority. So you don't have a Moscow score, you don't have a business value, but you have a priority. How important is this unplanned work? And then again, an estimation, investigate, execute, validate. And then similarly, when is this item reported? When did the work start and when was it done? Again, to be able to calculate your cycle time and your lead time. The dots next to the values are meant to mark whenever you start working on it. When you worked on an item, when you spend some time, you mark the dots. And when you have as much dots colored as is indicated in this cell, then this activity is done. And then someone can pull it to the next stage. Third type of cards is events. On the go, things can go wrong or things can go right as well. So events are some things that can impact your capacity or your availability or your planning overall. So this example, it says you're ill, you're absent for the rest of the week. But it can also be that you have something positive that you've been working on a certain item, but someone else has already been implementing it. So you can stop working on it now and just take this for granted. It's there, this requirement has been met. So different kinds of events are there. Final type of card is a Scrum Master superhero. Things can get blocked. And if too many items on your board get blocked, then it might be helpful that someone can remove the impediments from the board. So that's the Scrum Master who gets this card and can unblock all the blocked items. Other elements are the pawns. So each participant has a number of pawns, and these are like avatars on your board. Like you mark a card to say I'm working on this. So that's everyone has a color of points and has 3 points to be using. Red discs are used for marking a card being blocked, and there are 2 dice. One die is for the evolving insight, which is about do I need to increase my workload? Do I need to take an event card? Is my item blocked, or can I unblock an item? That's what a regular die does. And the special die is at the end of the day when everyone has marked some cards as to work on. Then you have the special die which brings in 0, 1, or 2 unplanned work items, and that's where the team has to decide together with the PO what to do with this unplanned work. Pick it up right away or let it report it and not touch it. So that's the elements of the game. How the game goes is something Sangeeta is going to explain, and she is going to simulate the simulation. If I can make you host again, then you have control now, Sangeeta.
Thank you, Koen. So I was just sharing my screen now, and we are going to see a Miro whiteboard. But this is more an MVP version of our board in an electronic format today. Just let me know if you're able to see my screen now. Great. So we really built in the same board, which Koen also would be showing it to you, the box at the end of the simulation. So this board, it talks about all the instructions, what we have gone through in detail from Koen's end, like some theory part, what is Scrumban, what are the basic things you need to know about the planned and unplanned work. And then part of the preparation before you start executing the sprint, what kind of activities do we need to do? For example, you possible to you guys?
Yep.
Perfect. So as a first step, you need to form your group, maybe 4 to 6 members. You just choose the different roles for preparation, execution, and testing or validation roles. And then you really choose your palm colors so that you can represent yourself on the board. And then there are some avatars so that you can really identify. Then you have seen 3 sets of cards. There are 3 types of cards we have got in this board game. One is the product backlog items, and then the next one is the unplanned, and third is the event cards. So if I really take you to the board, this is how it looks like. So all the product backlog cards, it is not exactly the same as what you have seen on the screenshot. But yeah, this whiteboard allows us to really create a card so that you can literally edit the card to change the numbers, and you can really input in all your inputs here. So these are like set of backlog cards, and every card has got some basic information like business value, the priority, and everything what just Koen explained. Then you have got some unplanned cards. All these unplanned cards are hidden, and you would get to see the card based on the dice what you play. Maybe it's a good idea to see. There are 2 dice in this game. One is the daughter dice and one is the number dice. The daughter dice, yeah, it's still a challenging thing for us to get the real dice look and feel and the play effect on the board. But right now it's more an a random number generator here. So you really generate a number, you get to see what's the daughter number on your dice. Or you could still use the dice as an app in your smartphone. So you can really show it to each other what was the number played. So based on the number, the game event rules applies. For the unplanned ones, based on this number dice, you would get to see a number. So based on the number, you really, so for example, if it is 2, then you really pick 2 cards from this unplanned deck. Literally, you need to really remove the hidings. So you get to know what does this card is about, what's the priority behind, and there are some efforts behind these cards. So that's how it would look like. Let me just take you back to the instruction part. So it's just same guidelines. So without the slides, if you need to run through this game, then with the whiteboard itself, you have everything in. 2 boards, planned and unplanned, and the rules about the dotted dice. If it is 1, what you need to do, 2, 3, and 4, and if it is 5, yes, as the red, instead of the red disc, here we have a red pawn on the board. And then there are also some examples shown here. How do you calculate your capacity for the team when you start playing, and some graphs which could help you out to fill in the real value details. Let me just start executing this game for you so that you can really get to know about it. So what we have got here, the cards, the backlog cards, and here on the right side, you see the event cards. Maybe I'll just zoom in a bit for event cards. So if you see here, every event card is hidden. You get to see when you have a dotted value of 4 in your dice. So every card you can just remove the hiding part, and you get to read about the action, what you need to play. And also you have got your super Scrum Master superhero role benefit. So when you get started, you have got a set of backlog cards here. All we need to do is, in real life, what do we do? Once you really form your team, you agree the different roles, like who is going to be an analyst, or who is going to focus on the preparation, who is the developer, who is the tester or a validator, and then you agree who is going to be a product owner, most probably one of the person from the preparation skills. Once you define the role, then you go to the prioritization step, where you try to prioritize all your backlog cards. Here you see different types of backlog cards here. So every card you can really zoom in, and if you want to know more details, you can really see the details here. So based on the priority, you have to prioritize. Once you have prioritized the backlog cards, the next step is to really calculate your, if you see here, I'm just again going to zoom in. Yeah. So you prioritize the backlog. Either you could just go with the Moscow score, which we have given it in the card, or you could really use any different techniques with your own experience to prioritize. Some of the techniques could be like cost of delay based VSJF or RISE, or any techniques you could use to prioritize your cards. Then the next step could be to really do your capacity planning. This is most crucial step, but normally we try to skip it. But in real life, this is the must have steps you need to do to really know what's your capacity and how would you really keep some buffer for your unplanned stuff. This is more important, and here we have given you some examples as well how to calculate this thing. Let me zoom in. So as Kun said, that every team member in your team, when you play, everyone will get 2 points per day if they are working full day. The day availability could be impacted based on the event card what you pick. Sometimes you might fall sick, so you cannot work half a day, or you need to attend a training. So there are many possibilities to really simulate the real-time events there. So based on this, you calculate the total capacity what you have got, and then you really calculate what's your available capacity. Once it is done, for example, if it is like a 4 members team, you get approximately, say, 72 units of work if it is a 10-day sprint. And in that, you really reserve, say, 20% for your unplanned stuff. So approximately you get 58 units of work as a team of 4 members unit of people. So for 58 points, you could really now see how could you really choose the card from your backlog. Zoom out. So you have prioritized the backlog from your product owner role. All you need to do is every card has got some efforts in it. So for example, this card has got like 6, 7, 5. So it's like 18 points you need to finish this card. You know you have got like 58 points and you know your skill set as well. How many points it comes from preparation expertise, how many points it comes from execution, and how many points it comes from your validation. So based on the skills and also based on the points on these cards, you would be able to really identify, okay, we are just going to do. So for example, when you really prioritize, maybe you want to pick all the must-have cards first, so that all the other cards goes back. And for 58 points, maybe let's just take an example here that I'm going to really plan these 4 cards to start with. I'm just going to put it like this here. So you have got now all the prioritized cards you have picked based on the capacity what you have got. So for 58 points approximately here, for example, I have just picked 4 cards. And then just to really refer back to our dice rolls, when you really, let me just go back. Once you're done with your capacity planning as well, let's just kickstart our sprint execution. Maybe this would give you more explanation. Yeah, so we are done with prioritization now. When we get started, it just go around the team members. The first player picks the suitable card on the prioritized list. Let's just go back. So if I'm the first team member here, I really, let's just take, this is the card I want to do. So I'm really bringing it to the to-do column. And since it's a first day, in the rule, if we really see it, first day, normally you really have a sprint planning and all these capacity planning and all these activities in morning half a day. So in real life as well, you don't get your full capacity when you start your sprint. So we also try to simulate the same thing here. So it means you get like just 1 unit of work to start with. And if you are preparation expert, then you really move the card here. And for example, if I'm the preparation expert here, I have got 2 units of work for this card to be done. But in my case, it's a first day, so I have just got 1 unit of work. So I'm just putting in here. If you really have a physical board of this game, you can really color the circle on the laminated cards. But in the online digital way, it's hard for us to get that done. You can still do the coloring here, but you need to then group all the controls before you move the card to the next place. And in this case, let's just say it's me here. I really put in my pawn here. So I'm done with my work for the first day. At the end of my first day activity, what I need to do, I need to really throw the dotted dice. So I generate, I get a 3. So if you see a game rule, if it is 2 or 3, I think we don't need to do anything, in the sense that your original efforts, for example, you see the action, the rule for the dotted dice. If it is 2 or 3 on the dotted dice, there is no action you need to do. It means whatever is your planned capacity, you are still going good. Nothing is impacting your capacity. Assume if you would have got 1, then your original capacity on the particular action activity what you did is getting increased by 1 more unit. What does it really mean? For example, you see here, I have just marked it for you to explicitly know. If it is 3, it gets increased by 1 more. So you just edit the card and add 1 more, even though you have spent your 1.1 unit of work on that card. So that's how you start putting your effect based on the dice what you have played now. Once it is done, then the next person starts again picking up the card. So I'm done now. So maybe the next team member, what he will do again in the next 3 cards on the backlog, he would just, ideally this stays here. Yeah. So here, this card, he would pick it up, or the next one he has, it's always a nice discussion the team has, which card we have to pick it up based on what's the available skills we have got on the team on that day, and which one really has a more impact. So the real discussion happens there before you start selecting your cards. And then same
Or
way,
a person can join and work on the same item.
yeah, that's
delivery.
also, yeah, that's also real team collaboration you could have. So far, we have seen when we have done the simulation, the discussion really matters a lot. It really enables the team to see all the cards on the board, and also you get to see the value behind the cards every moment of your day. So you really take a right decision where to focus, and that's also a specialty of the simulation, that value-driven discussions are enabled part of this cards. Once you are done with these things, for example, this is how you are now. Yeah. Every one of you would throw the daughter die. You would spend your units of work, then you play your daughter dice, then it goes to the second one. It just goes like this till you reach the end. When the last person is done, then you get to really run the number dice. So it means here, yeah. So here you would really run the next dice, what you see on the fast lane. So in this case, say it's 1. So you need to just, normally it used to be like this. So you, since you have got 1, you just need to open the hidden thing and get this card to your board. This gets reported. Every time, if you want to see the card details, you can always expand it, and you can edit really like on which sprint it is getting started. To really note down which sprint are you in, which day you are in, there is always an indicator here in the top. You could really drag and drop to the sprint, and you can really drag and drop the days here. So you really get to know everything. Why do we need these informations? If your squad is a team or squad is a bit more matured, then you can really record all these informations to get to know the lead time and cycle time. So that's also an interesting thing of the simulation. It is not just meant for just a beginner squad. You can really customize the simulation based on the maturity level. In the first version, you could just simply say, okay, let's just not use these additional fields. Let's just run a very simple version. But if you really see over the period, they have improved their maturity, you can really run in a recurrent way, like after 3 months or 6 months, once you know the maturity has increased, you can ask them to really note down these additional values. Even in the backlog cards, you would see the planned sprint, actual sprint. So you really know when these cards are coming into your queue, even though it is there in the to-do, but you are not really picking it up on the first day. So everything you can track. Once you have done your unplanned stuff as well for the day, you really pick. And also remember, this unplanned dice is thrown only once for the whole team for each day. So not everyone needs to play, just one member of your team of your choice could play this. So once it is done, all we need to do is just to record the value of the done column, how many cards you have achieved here on the at the end of the day. And then you need to really detect some loss, because all the incidents, what it targets your team, or all the unplanned stuff, it needs some effort, it needs some impact. It means at the end it is a loss. So you need to really detect those loss, what you accumulate in this part of the board from the value gained. So that value you would record it here. But these are quite much explained on the board itself. If you see here.
So that's for each day that an unplanned work item is not finished.
Yeah.
Based on the severity of the cards, you get a penalty.
Yeah, if you see here, it's explained like if it is a high priority card, what is the penalty? So you can really customize this thing based on your need. But the idea is to really give a value focus here, that if you have got some unplanned, it is not that it's just an incident, you just keep it on your queue. Every incident on your queue takes some money from you, but then you need to take a call. Where do I put my focus? Do I put my focus on the planned item? Let me just go back to the board. Yeah. For example, I have got now 4 cards on my planned board, 1 item on my unplanned board. So where do I give my focus? So it's the call from the PO along with your team members to decide, okay, this is a high priority incident, so it makes sense for us to spend the effort. Or we just say, it's okay, let's just take the penalty, let's just focus more on the planned items. So this is the real core part of the simulation for us, where you really get to discuss both planned and unplanned in the same board. And every time you get to see everything based on the value discussion, and the value chart part of the simulation makes you to think, are we making the right decision from the value perspective?
Now, the extra advantage of the value creation sheet is also, if you do this for an audience only for one time, like on a conference or on a meetup, then you have limited time. You can't do this over and over again. With different iterations, you focus mostly on one iteration. And when you have different teams, then it's the fun element of the game, the gaming part, that people can make sure that they're winning against their peers, get a higher business value. Now that's, of course, that's a fun element of it. It's not the main element. The main element is indeed to make the right decisions, and also learn about the metrics. All right. So far the demo, I guess.
Yeah, I think I have covered everything. And you get to know everything on the board itself. And it's pretty simple, and you can just configure the way you want. And even the board allows you to really import your real cards from Jira or your ticketing tool, and you can really customize these and also these event cards as well. You can really customize it if you want to, or you can use our cards as well as you can add your additional cards on the board, so you can really simulate your real-time events from your organization. So I think that's it from my side. Do you guys have any questions or anything particular you want to see?
I have a quick question. In fact, so there's this penalty for unfinished urgent work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that has a repercussion on your planned work. Is there a penalty or is there a scoring there which tells you, because you had to do unplanned work, what is the impact on the planned work?
Yeah, it is on the value itself. When you calculate, for example, on the day 1, if I would have completed this card, so here I gain a value of 130 points. And it's a must-have card. So we have got some boosting parameters for this. I'm just going to check. But Koen, maybe when we go back to your slide, you can show that part. If it is a must-have card, you really multiply your points by 2 times or so. So then it becomes 260.
Okay.
You gain. But in this case, there is a high priority incident waiting on your queue. You are not taken any action on this. So there is a penalty behind this card. For example, say it is like 30 points for this card. You have a game rule sheet next to you, so you can just refer the exact numbers. So it's 260 points minus this 30. So it becomes, you gain only 230 at the end of the day 1. So all you need to do is just record it on the value chart. For my team, at the end of day 1, I gained 230. And the good thing is this board can be really played by multiple teams. So in the same whiteboard, our idea is to really have similar board structure for 4 teams minimum. So 4 teams can really work on the same whiteboard. So every team can really record their scores, and it really creates a competitiveness between them, because everyone can see this table and every team can record their values. Then you really see how the teams are making their improvements.
Point is also that you in compared to Scrum, in Scrum you commit to a certain scope that you want to deliver by the end of the sprint. In this case, you can only have the intention to work on, and that's typically the work environment that doesn't make it possible to make commitments or strict forecasts about what you're going to deliver within the iteration. Only the intention to work on.
Yep.
That's the main difference between Scrumban and Scrum. Okay, Sangeeta, you make me a presenter again?
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right.
For us, the real advantage of the simulation is it's a more a realistic card where you get to see all the different subtasks of a story or a requirement. Normally, when we do a Scrum simulation, either you do a marshmallow game or you do some fun things. People are really enjoying it. They understand the basic concepts. But when they really come back to their real life, it's always challenging for them to really apply it. They are applying. Most of the teams right now, they really know how to do a planning, how to do stand-up. The events are okay, but how to manage the cards, where should we give a focus? And also most of the time you see a pattern that they are mostly in silos. I have done my part, I have done my story, then I'm done with it. I don't really care what my colleagues are suffering. I don't give a focus there. Can I help him out so that my team gains the value there? So that's the specialty of the simulation, to see how could we enable that team discussions across the table.
And the extra recognizable bit for the participants is the introduction of the events, things that can occur during the course of the work, like changes of plan and so on. Like you've been working on something, but at a certain point, it's no more needed, so you have to discard it, even though you were almost finished. Or even worse, entire change of plan. The current scope is being discarded entirely, and you have to start all over again. So your sprint is being compromised. So that's the events that make it more challenging there. So just a little recap there about your question about value creation, value loss. So at the end of the day, value calculation is done based on the business value, and your Moscow, which is a multiplier for your business value. A must-have is ×2. A should-have is the exact business value you gain. Could have half of it and won't have none of it. You don't gain anything when you implement a won't have, because we don't need it now. Similarly, there's the unplanned work where you lose value, and the penalty is based on your priority. A low priority can be left in the reported stage as long as you want, because it's hardly felt. It's only -1 per day that it's not finished. A medium priority is -10 per day. With a high priority, if you don't finish it by the end of the first day, then you get a penalty of -50 per day that you don't finish it. So, and even these things can get blocked as well. I've seen situations where people had like 5 or 6 items blocked on their board, and that's really a bummer.
There's
so
the chat box that are you hosting this game somewhere so that it can be played? I think it comes from Alexander.
Well, at this moment, no. Point is, I'm working on an online version as well. I'm trying to develop the rule set behind this to start with, and then I still need to get the front end on top of it. But a real online version, except the thing that Sangeeta has been showing, we don't have at this moment.
Yeah. Just to add on with Koen, yes, the real electronic version of the game might not be available soon, but we would be happy to host this Miro whiteboard to have a simulation session with you guys if you are really interested. So if you are really interested to join the virtual session with us, give your comments in the chat window so that we would be more happy to invite you. Because the real session would really need some time, because we cannot get the storytelling as well as the real game part of the 1 hour time slot. So just let us know in the chat window. We would note it down and would be happy to host the session with you guys. And we will check also with Madhavan to see if it fits into this calendar event of this month, then yes.
Yeah, why not? I think we can organize as many events as possible this month. The whole month we're going to celebrate Agile, so why not? But on this note, Kun, like you also have another game which you can also play on,
Yeah.
right? Tableaupedia. Do you have something to say about it? So if any of them are interested, like we can also organize another.
Do you want me already switch to that, or do I continue a bit
I think
more
we should
first?
continue with this. Like it's up to you, Kun. Yeah.
Yeah. Just quick go over the learnings that, because how can this help you? This is about what can you learn about this. First, the main learning is like you don't jump on every unplanned work item just because it occurs. Especially in the infrastructure teams, that's something we learned, that the people had to be aware about. Don't just jump on everything with all your force you have, because sometimes it's one incident, it's not even the high priority, and 3 people are working on the same incident just because of the sake of they like doing this, and then the planned work is being stuck. That's the main learning of the simulation. Second one is prioritize to maximum return. Like you have so many criteria you can apply to come to the best value. Like you can use the Moscow value, you can take the business value into account, and then your workload. Combine these 3 and you have something like the way to sort the job first from SAFe, if everyone is familiar with that. But that's like make sure you get the fastest, biggest benefits. Then let it flow is also important. Make sure that you don't have too much work in progress. And that's something that will be visualized using the cumulative flow diagram. If you have too many items in progress, then you won't be able to deliver really what you want. And also detect your bottlenecks by calculating your cycle time and your lead time. Then you see where things seem to go slower there. That's what can help you there. And these are all metrics that can help you grow from a Scrumban team even into a Kanban team. And then final lesson there is also like, did you help each other? Are you really sticking to your role? Because the idea is also you have units of work you can spend within your specialty. You choose your specialty in the beginning, but you can also do other things outside your specialty at a certain time penalty. You go slower because it's not your specialty, but you can still do this and you can still help out your peers. So being a generalizing specialist is the last lesson learned there. I'm going to skip the thing about how we evolved in this. How can you get started? That's something else, of course. Already mentioned, unfortunately, we don't have an online version yet. If you want to know more about the simulation, check out the website. There's a slide with the URL and the QR code you can scan if you want to within a few seconds. You can go for the do-it-yourself way. There's still on GitHub a CreativeCommons version, which you can print, cut, and laminate yourself. If you want to take the time, because it takes time and effort to make it yourself, but that's the way we start ourselves. Know that this version has not been updated with the information that we've been applying to the box version. So this is some starting point you can already have, you can get familiar with maybe, but the box version is something else, of course. These are for sale. We can do workshops with them, we can do trainer sessions, and there's also a training program with a full day training about Scrumban, including the simulation to experience the Scrumban approach there. That's the idea of the full day training. And this is the URL. Take a picture of the QR code if you want to. Check the website. And then what Madhavan was referring to, that's one more thing. The one more thing has nothing really to do with the Scrumban simulation, but is about this. I recently made a DevOps-oriented game, which is called Build, Run, Improve, Repeat. That helps you experience what DevOps is about and what it's about to grow as a DevOps organization, and experience what the impact is of the investments you're doing and where you can go wrong even with investments. It's a board game, but at this point, it's a board game on Tabletopia, so it's really online available. I've been doing tryouts the last few weeks to gather feedback, to get better with it, to improve it. I'm currently working on seeing how I can implement the suggestions that I got during the tryouts, improve it, and then I'm going to launch the game, so it will be available on Tabletopia for now. Maybe once the Corona times are over, like the Scrumban simulation, I'll make boxes of this as well. And that's our story.
Great. Thanks a lot, Koen and Sangeeta, for your time and for organizing this session for Agile 20 Reflect Festival. It is for a good cause, like we are all here together to celebrate Agile. Thanks a lot to all the participants. My special thanks to Agile 20 Reflect team and ambassadors all around the world, speakers all around the world, and of course you participants.
Sorry to interfere, Madhavan. Koen, could you just unshare your screen so that we could bring the participants into the gallery mode?
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, indeed.
All right.
Yeah, great.
Thanks a lot.
We can see each other.
Idea. It's good to see everyone.
Yeah.
So, great. So thank you all people. And like Sangeeta and Koen mentioned, that if you want us to organize some more events, especially to play the game with what Sangeeta has shown, and also if you want us to organize a DevOps game, I think we can also organize another session. So please contact either me or Sangeeta or Koen so that we can organize it. I'm also the ambassador for Belgium for Agile 20 Reflect Festival. So please feel free to contact me if you want to organize any specific topics that you have. We can get people on board. And one more thing, agile20reflect.org website, I think that's where you should visit. There are over 600 events across the world in 22 time zones happening. Everything is for free. So please feel free to make use of this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. Subscribe. I personally saw a lot of interesting speakers around the world. I myself have subscribed to the events. So please make use of the opportunity.
And we have at least 2 ambassadors in this session today. So
yeah, indeed, we also have Alexandra from from Peru, another ambassador of Agile 20 Reflect. Alexandra, do you have anything to say here?
No, just to say thank you to all of you. This was a very inspiring session, and as well as you, I invite everybody to join to all the sessions. We have more than 700 sessions and
700 now.
topics to review. It's a lot, it's a craziness, but I'm sure you will enjoy all of them.
Yeah, great. Thank you all people. Let's celebrate Agile. I hope you enjoyed this session. Yeah.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you for joining.